Hey guys, what's going on? James here, and in this video today, we're going to be talking about some quotes from both Byron Leftwich and Bruce Arians regarding the Bucs running back situation, including Bruce Arians just coming out and saying that Ronald Jones will be the starting running back in week number 2, and I've also got an update on the Sean Murphy-Bunting injury situation as well. Again, a quote from Bruce Arians. So, if you guys are new here, go ahead and subscribe, hit the like button if you do enjoy these types of quote review videos, and leave your thoughts about Ronald Jones being the starting running back in week number 2, as well as the Sean Murphy-Bunting injury update news down in the comment section below. But let's first talk about that injury update with SMB. So, Bruce Arians was asked about the prognosis for the injured Sean Murphy-Bunting, and Bruce Arians came out and said, right now, it could be anywhere from 4 weeks to the end of the season. We're still looking at some MRI and a second opinion on what has to be done, if anything. We'll probably know more in 2 days, whether it's a season-long injury or 3 to 6 weeks. That is a very, very big gap, in my opinion. That is a huge gap. There are so many different variables there, and there are so many different types of things that could happen. Bruce Arians was also asked about if there was any ligament damage in Sean Murphy-Bunting's injury, and Bruce Arians said, I'm not a doctor, I'm just saying it could be either one. There is nothing bone-wise. So, the original diagnosis was, that the Buccaneers were optimistic and that it was just a dislocated elbow. We had made a previous video about that. Myself and Evan Wanish over at the Cannon Fire podcast that was reported by Rick Stroud, and that was coming from the Tampa Bay Buccaneers themselves. But now it seems like that this gap has just increased to crazy lengths in terms of range of how long he could be out. So I guess we'll know in a couple more days. Once we do get more information about that, more updates, I will probably make a follow-up video on that, so stay tuned for that video. But yeah, definitely a very, not weird, but definitely a very frustrating situation right now because you don't have an exact timetable as to when Sean Murphy-Bunting will actually come back, and that really does suck to see. But now let's get into some of the news, or some of the quotes rather, talking about the running back position group. So Bruce Arians was asked about Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette both bouncing back from their mistakes. Leonard Fournette had a drop that resulted in an interception in week number 1. Ronald Jones had a fumble in week number 1 as well. And Bruce Arians said, yeah, they're all different and Rojo was ready. We started throwing the ball a bunch more. He's starting this week and he's ready to roll. And then Bruce Arians was later asked on clarifying if he meant that Ronald Jones would start on Sunday, and Bruce Arians said, yes. So there's a lot to unpack there with just those 2 quotes. I'm going to try and keep this video to a reasonable length, but first things first, Ronald Jones will be the starting running back in week number 2 versus the Atlanta Falcons. That is very interesting in my opinion. I had talked about, whenever they had benched Ronald Jones because he wasn't getting over his fumble mentally, according to Bruce Arians, I thought that was a pretty short leash. A lot of you guys sounded off in the comments section, very split. Some people, feel that Ronald Jones should have been given another chance in that game. Some people felt that, he was justified in benching Ronald Jones. There was definitely diverse of opinions there. But now Bruce Arians is coming out and saying, hey, Ronald Jones can be the starter here in this second game. I guess it clarifies that they still have confidence in Ronald Jones and what he can do as a running back for this team. But what's very interesting to me was Bruce Arians saying, hey, they're all different. Rojo was ready. Is he saying that Ronald Jones was ready in week number 1? Because he's kind of, contradicting himself a little bit, because he said that Ronald Jones struggled to get over his fumble mentally. I talked about that in a previous video. So was he ready or was he not over it? That's kind of a question I have just based off of that quote alone. The second thing I see here is that we started throwing the ball much more, which is, I guess, reasoning as to why Ronald Jones didn't get into the game, because they were throwing the ball much more. So that question leads me to say, why wasn't Giovani Bernard in the game? If he's your pass catching back and he's also supposed to be a very good receiving back in his own right, again, why was Leonard Fournette out there for a very large amount of the passing plays? That's still something, I have stuck in my mind, but I'll go ahead and just drop that and move on here. But again, regardless, Ronald Jones, He is going to be the starting running back in week number 2, and then there's a little bit of contradiction, some conflict of quotes here from Bruce Arians saying pretty much right after the game, or the day after the game, that, Ronald Jones struggled to get over his fumble mentally, but now he's saying that Rojo was ready, they just ended up passing a lot more. So little confusion there. Let me know what you guys think about that entire situation with Bruce Arians' quotes and Ronald Jones being the starting running back in week number 2 down in the comments section down below. But then we move on to Byron Leftwich and some of his quotes, and maybe we will get some clarification with Giovani Bernard here in regards to why he didn't get a ton of playing time in the offense in week number 1. So Byron Leftwich was asked on Giovani Bernard's role in the offense, and Leftwich said, "We'll continue to try and get the ball to everybody, week in and week out. Somebody is going to be the guy that didn't get it. It is what it is. We're trying to win football games, and we'll get the football to our playmakers the best we can. Some days you'll probably have bigger days. He didn't the other day, but it's something that I don't really view it like that or see it like that. I just view it as get the playmakers the ball and do what you've got to do to win the game." Okay, so that's Byron Leftwich just saying, look, Giovani Bernard was a victim of circumstance. It's just a matter of they have so many playmakers, not everybody can get the football. That is an understandable quote in my opinion. I can see where he is coming from with that logic. Yes, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers do have so many stinking playmakers to throw the ball to, not just hand off or anything along those lines, just throw the ball to. So that is, sound logic and reasoning in my opinion. Then Byron Leftwich was asked on his confidence that Ronald Jones will bounce back. Byron Leftwich said, "I'm not worried about Rowe at all. We'll continue getting Rowe the ball and letting Rowe be Rowe. Rowe is real special running the ball and unique. We understand the talent that he has. It's never perfect in football. The game doesn't go that way. Football doesn't allow it to be perfect. Football also helps in life lessons. It gets tough sometimes, and sometimes it's better for you. But throughout a 17-game season, that's just how it goes. And I think professional athletes know how to handle that. We'll move on and learn from the mistakes we made, but we have to be focused on doing everything we can to win the next ball game. We have a team that always plays us tough. Every time we played them, it's a tough out, so we have to do everything possible to get ready to play this game." That was a mouthful, and I read that word for word. So all the rows being in a row there, that was straight out of Byron Leftwich, and then him saying, we understand the talent that he has. That was also another direct quote there. So basically, to just boil all of that down, Byron Leftwich is not worried about Ronald Jones. He is learning as he goes. It's, he's taking everything as a learning experience. I guess that's a good thing for life. There's definitely some philosophical stuff in here, in my opinion. But, Ronald Jones, he's learning to move past his mistakes. Byron Leftwich is not worried about him. And they understand that the talent Ronald Jones is for this Buccaneers running back room. That is essentially what I have boiled it down to with that. So, again, Byron Leftwich showing his confidence in Ronald Jones, saying that, yes, we understand Ronald Jones is a talented running back, and he is learning a lot of life lessons, both on the field and off the field. So, a lot to unpack there. Very philosophical-esque quote from Byron Leftwich there. Leftwich was then asked on running back Leonard Fournette's ability to put plays behind him, and Leftwich said, "I believe we're watching Lenny become a pro. I really believe that. As professional athletes, it doesn't always go well. It's not the first time that it's not going well for an individual throughout a game. That happens week in and week out. The professional guys know how to move past it, get themselves in position, so when the next play presents itself, this group tends to make it. I'm more excited for the guys that people may think they didn't play well just because I know what it does to them. I know how they'll react to that, and I just try to think to give them more opportunities to play well and play at a high level." So, again, more praise from Byron Leftwich to Leonard Fournette. He's saying, hey, Lenny's becoming a pro. Lenny is motivated whenever people say he doesn't have a good game. All of his guys become motivated whenever people say that they don't have good games. And that makes Byron Leftwich excited to give those guys opportunity to shine and show what they can do in this offense. So, again, another very interesting quote there, but I think what we can gain from that is that Byron Leftwich is happy with where Leonard Fournette is right now as a pro. He is getting better at moving on from mistakes. He's becoming a better professional week in and week out. And Byron Leftwich, you know, he is very happy with professional guys who know how to move past mistakes and get themselves in positions to make plays when they present themselves. So that's pretty interesting, you know, for Leonard Fournette to get that kind of quote. I wouldn't say that that's a knock on Ronald Jones or anything like that. You know, based on what Bruce Arians said about him not being able to get over his fumble, I don't think so at all. I just think that Byron Leftwich is giving some props to Leonard Fournette there in terms of being a pro and moving on from mistakes that he has made during game time action as well. And then finally, Byron Leftwich was asked on where Fournette improved from last season. Leftwich said, every form there is. Preparation, how I practice the things I have to do to get myself in position to consistently have success, the things he does every day you see every day. So overall, Leonard Fournette is just improving every single day at what he needs to do at that running back position. I guess that means nuances in the offense, pass blocking, running the ball, receiving the ball, whatever you may think, guys. Even preparation to the game as well. Being with Tom Brady will probably help out a lot with that as well. It seems like Leonard Fournette is improving on all of those things. And I assume a similar thing can be said for guys like Ronald Jones and Giovani Bernard as well. All those guys are growing as running backs, growing as players, and it seems like the coaching staff, based on all these quotes that I gave, the coaching staff has confidence in their guys, and they are willing to, you know, work with these guys on moving past their mistakes and giving them opportunities in the future, much like what we're seeing with Ronald Jones. In the case of Giovani Bernard, seems like he was just a victim of circumstance in week number 1, and Byron Leftwich definitely has a lot of confidence in both Ronald Jones and Leonard Fournette to rebound and bounce back from their mistakes. So, yeah, guys, that's pretty much it. I have given you word for word these quotes from Bruce Arians and Byron Leftwich. Ronald Jones will be the starting running back in week number 2. And there was a lot of interesting stuff here. Some philosophical quotes, some life lesson-esque quotes from Byron Leftwich, and just some point-blank, you know, kind of like, hey, Ronald Jones is the starting running back next week quotes from Bruce Arians. So some very interesting stuff. What do you guys think? Give me your thoughts about all of these quotes down in the comments section below. I'd really would love to hear your guys' thoughts, especially on the Byron Leftwich stuff. That was some long, very interesting quotes. But yeah, anyway, thank you guys so much for watching this video. Hope y'all enjoyed. And as always, guys, I will see you in the next video or the next live stream. But until then, and as always, guys, goodbye for now, and go Bucs.